Oh man, I'm sure you've heard by now, but there has been a huge breach in the unity of the MAGA world over the Epstein files. The infamous Jeffrey Epstein files have reared their ugly head yet again, and now it is causing huge division on the MAGA side. And I mean, it's something to behold. It's quite something to behold. So basically, this all started when there was a confrontation between Pam Bondi and Dan Bongino. So Pam Bondi, she is the Attorney General, and that also means that she's the head of the Department of Justice. And Dan Bongino is the deputy head of the FBI, okay, underneath Kash Patel. We all know him too, okay? So they were having a meeting with the White House Chief of Staff, Susie Wiles, and they were asked, Bongino and Kash Patel were asked about a news story that had been suggesting that they were, quote, dissatisfied with the decision not to release any additional Epstein files, okay? And so they basically was like, what's up? We heard you was complaining, and what's up? And it blew up into some big shit, right? It blew up into something so big that Dan Bongino threatened to leave his post at the FBI over these Epstein files. Now, Dan Bongino, for those who don't know, he was, prior to being the deputy director of the whole entire FBI, he was a podcaster, just like me, guys. So if anybody tells you being a podcaster can't open doors for you, he was a podcaster. He had no experience in any like FBI, let alone like the government. And so he was a podcaster, and Trump, he was a right-wing, far right-wing podcaster, and Trump was like, that's my guy. That's my guy. So he got put in along with all these other grifters, right? And part of like when he was doing his podcast, one of the biggest things he talked about was the Epstein files, revealing the Epstein files. Because remember, guys, this is essentially how MAGA began, right? They all sort of began over that whole QAnon conspiracy theory thing. And the whole QAnon conspiracy theory was that you have these wealthy elites who are out here running sex trafficking rings, running human trafficking rings all over the globe. And, and QAnon, somehow in their head, they got it that this was exclusively Democrats doing this. This was Democratic leaders and Democratic bigwigs and Democratic elites who were out here running these sex trafficking rings. And so, there was this whole conspiracy theory that came out called QAnon. And I thought, just as a side note, I thought it was so funny that they would call this a conspiracy theory. And I think it really speaks to the, I don't even know how to say this, but like the weirdness of the MAGA movement, and like how they don't really have any clear morals and clear values. It's always so murky. Like this idea that rich, wealthy, elite people are abusing people and trafficking and taking advantage of people. Like somehow that's a conspiracy. Maybe that's just a Tuesday. Rich people abusing people, taking advantage of people, trafficking people. Like I don't understand like why that was considered some big conspiracy theory, but it just speaks to like the weird, murky morals that MAGA has. Because of course it was this big conspiracy theory when it came to them thinking that it was Democrats exclusively involved with Jeffrey Epstein, right? So this was a huge issue for the MAGA Republicans because that's essentially how they all began. And so you have the podcast community, the right-wing podcast community, of which Dan Bongino, the deputy FBI director, came from that world. And, they were demanding that these files be released. And Trump was the champion. He was the guy that was going to release these files. He himself even campaigned on releasing these files. He said he would do it, and he campaigned on that. And Pam Bondi, she said she was dogged. All of these people were so dogged about releasing these files. And then suddenly, the tune changed, okay? The tune changed. All of a sudden, these folks are like, Pam Bondi comes out and she's like, oh, Epstein files? What Epstein files? Never heard of them. Suddenly, she literally came out and basically said that there are no Epstein files. That that basically what people are asking for doesn't even exist. Mind you, she's on record as having told people previously that she had the Epstein files on her desk and they were just waiting to be reviewed. But now suddenly we don't know nothing about no Epstein files. Those don't even exist. It's not a real thing.